Hello, this is Garth out of Espresso. Today I'd like to show you how to add new questions to your event registration forms in Espresso. Now, Espresso is designed to make some processes reusable. So you can create an event once and use it many times with multiple dates, or in this case, you can create questions and question groups and use those questions time and time again. You don't have to recreate them for every event. So at this point, I'm going to assume that you have Espresso installed and active. If not, you can still follow along. But if you go to Espresso and click Registration Forms, you're going to see the registration form page has three tabs at the top: Questions, Question Groups, and Registration Form Settings. So within Espresso, the overall process is you create a question or questions, you put those questions within a question group, and then you edit your event and you select which groups of questions you want to use for your event. So I'll take you through that process now. Now this is going to be a process where I want to collect the company information for someone who's registering. So the question was going to be your company name. Now I can add a different label. I can make it a back-end admin only question, but in this case it's not. I want it to be a front-end question for attendees. The question type is going to be text. Now it could be any other number of options: checkboxes, country, date picker, number, drop down, email. There's a lot of different options, but in this case I want them to provide a text response to my question. I can also set a maximum number of characters, make it required or not. In this case I'm going to keep it simple, but you can change some of those settings yourself. So I'm going to add this question, and then I'm going to add another question. So I go to questions, I click, you'll see that down here my company name question was created. Now I'm going to add the company size. I want to know how big the company is. Now in this case I want people to choose from a number of available options. So I'm going to do a radio button, and in this case I'm going to do one, company size of say 10, maybe up to 10, so 2 to 10. And then another option, 11 to 100, and then we'll give them more, 101 to 1,000, and I guess for good measure we'll do 1,000 plus employees. Again, I can make this required or optional. In this case I'm going to leave it optional, and we're going to go ahead and save and update this. I can also choose no default value in case I don't want to influence how they answer the question. But in this case, I set a default value. That means that none of those values will be selected. Now, what I've done is I've created these two questions, company name and company size. What I do now is I'm going to add a group of questions. We currently have two question groups by default: personal information and address information. And there is already assigned questions to these groups. So personal information has first name, last name, and email address. And address information has their contact information. Okay, I want to add my company questions to a new company group. So I'm going to name this company questions. Okay, now I'm going to select my company name and company size. So I've taken the questions and I've put them into question groups. There's some options here you can look at. And I'm going to save that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my event. In this case, I'm going to edit my board meeting. I want the board meeting to collect the information from the attendees about their company size. And what I do is I go down to the questions for the primary registrant and questions for the additional registrant. The primary registrant is the first person in a registration, and the additional registrants are the subsequent 2 through any number of registrants in a group. You can ask them different questions. In this case, I want to ask the first person registering, because I'm only allowing one person to register, but I want to know their company information. If I allowed multiple people to register and I wanted to collect their information too, I would select the personal information and company questions for them as well. In this case, I only want to find the company information for one person registering because I'm limiting it to one. So I select the company questions. These are the questions that are going to be asked are the personal information and company questions. Come up here and click update. Now, when I register for this event, this board meeting, I'm going to click register, and now it's going to ask me for my information. So I'm going to add it here, and then company name, we're going to say Espresso, and the company size, we're going to say 2 to 10, 1,000, whatever it is, and we're going to click proceed to finalize the registration. Okay, now I have successfully registered for this. In this case, the event was free, so the Event Espresso skipped the registration information. Now if I come in here and I refresh my event page, I can see now I have one approved registration. Or if I go into registrations, you can see Garth was registered. Or if I go into my board meeting, you can see that one person has registered. But I can then go into the registration details for this event, and I can see that the registration form was answered, and it collected the company name, and it selected my information. Okay, now that's all great there. I can also export this data using the CSV reporter, so it exports it to CSV. So that is an example of how you can use the registration forms to collect more information from your attendees, either the first attendee or other attendees, by adding a new question group, and assigning that question group to your event to make sure that it's asking the correct questions right here in the primary registrants and additional registrants. Hopefully it's helpful to help you collect the information from your attendees when they register or buy tickets. We can provide more information or answer any questions. You can find us at eventespresso.com.